Hello, Airtime Wrestling fans. This is Kevin here on my new podcast, You Missed Out. We've got a lot to cover, so we'll just jump right into it. I want to welcome my guest, Wrestle Center superstar Matt Bullen. Thanks for coming, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man.
I appreciate you being on. So we're going to start just ask a few basic questions, and then we'll talk about the card and go from there. Just to start off, so how did you break into the wrestling business?
When I was a kid, I grew up in British Columbia. So my buddy Luke, his dad was involved in wrestling and from the promoting side of it. Ran some events out there. So from a young age, just kind of got exposed to it that way. Mm-hmm. And then, I moved out here because my dad was in the military. So like when I was like 15, and then just kind of, started off with like, Shane and those guys doing, the untrained stuff.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of took off from there, really. Just went through, went out west, worked out there for a little bit out in Alberta and stuff. Came back here, did some stuff with UCW, and then obviously Wrestle Center.
Okay. Yes. So how did you get involved with Wrestle Center?
Tyler and Jason used to film shows for Chuck, mm-hmm. and at the time I was working for Chuck, and the concept of Wrestle Center came about, and with certain guys on that roster that they approached about being on the Wrestle Center roster. Mm-hmm. So they gave me an opportunity and said yeah, and
here we are.
2.5 years or whatever later, still with Wrestle Center. So
nice.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought, or do you have any plans on being booked other places besides Halifax?
That's a big stigma I find that people think about me, is that he's exclusive Wrestle Center, he can't book out anywhere else, and that's not true. I have a good, I'm one of the few guys in that company that actually have a decent deal put in place. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that they ask of me on my side is just not to book out with anybody that has any type of TV deals. Yeah. Which makes sense. Yeah. Right? So as far as it goes for booking out in other provinces, even promotions in the Maritimes that don't have television deals, I'm 100% able to.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, but I just think that there's that stigma, going around the business, so that, Bullen's just Wrestle Center exclusive, right? So, as long as you're not television, I can take your bookings. So if you want to book me, check my stuff out. If you like it, message me on Facebook, maybe, Twitter, whatever. I'll give you my phone number.
Perfect. So in the last couple of years, you've shared a ring with likes of Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles. What were those guys like to work with?
Oh, they're good guys, man. Yeah. AJ Styles is, he's one of the few guys I actually somewhat keep in contact with. You meet met him in the locker room, just kind of, hit it off with him, kind of into the same stuff. And he's just one of the nicest dudes mm-hmm. in the business I've ever met. Yeah. And, the success he has, right now with WWE and stuff that's awesome. As far as it goes for Samoa Joe, he wasn't in the arena and stuff. Nobody knew that he. Mm-hmm. All we were told going out there was that the lights were going to go out and somebody's going to be standing behind us, right? The crowd, or they figured the crowd would obviously erupt. But that's all they told us, right? When we were going out there. So and then by the time we got backstage, he was already gone, or whatever. So I didn't really. And then same deal. I think he wrestled a match with. Daniels, right? Yeah, and same deal. He was kind of kept separate and stuff. So don't really know. He seems like a really cool guy. Mm-hmm. Christopher Daniels is the man. In my opinion, there's probably not anybody that's as good in the ring as he is in terms of the psychology and how he can just work with, because he's been all over, right? They call him the king of the indies, but I mean, he can break a match down so simple. That's such a complicated match, and it looks on television like it's a complicated match, but he can break it down so simple. The psychology and the knowledge he has for the business. I learned more with heel faction and doing that whole deal. On my right I had Titus, on my left I had Christopher Daniels. I probably learned in 2 years what it takes most people 10 or 15 years to figure out, just because of the brains I had to pick there, which was incredible, right?
Exactly, yeah, for sure. So this past Saturday show was filmed for the Fight Network. So how important was it to you and the other performers to have that show be on Fight Network?
It was definitely a good atmosphere in the locker room. I think everybody was excited. Obviously, any type of exposure, being an independent wrestler, is good exposure. So everybody seemed like they were really happy about it. I'm stoked about it. I think it's going to be a good move. You know, because Wrestle Center kind of, you know, they came out first with like the television, and then, you know, other companies followed, and now they're the first to come out with like an actual. And I'm not including like Pete and Mike Hughes' stuff. I'm talking about like current like wrestling promotions. And they're the first one out of everybody to kind of hit that next plateau, which is great, because I hope that all the other companies that have television deals hit that plateau with different companies. Because again, you're just bringing more exposure to the maritime wrestling scene, which is great.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, you know, we can go and charge big money in different provinces and states and get booked out because we have that exposure. You know, and that's just good for all the boys in the business too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So you. I've had a on-screen partnership with Jim Joyce, who plays Jackson Fury. Are you guys close behind curtain?
We were years ago. I'm sorry. We were really good friends years ago. I got a sore throat from Saturday. We were really good friends like years ago. I broke him into the business. I kind of initially did some training with him and stuff before he got Gary got his hands on him. And then, you know, he just, in my opinion, didn't make some of the best choices in terms of, you know, listening to guys and trying to politic and just being, you know, like, I don't know, I guess when you're in that type of position, you don't really politic for stuff, so I think that hurt him. So I kind of just went the one way where I just did the shut up and listen to everybody approach and all that, and he kind of went the other way, and, you know, and just kind of, you know, different groups of people, different ways of doing things, just kind of, you know. So yeah, we're not definitely anywhere near as good friends as what we were years ago, that's for sure, yeah.
Cool. So last summer, you and a lot of the top performers were involved in a show to raise money for the IWK in Tanamagush. I was at that show. It was a great show. How important was that show and that cause to you?
Oh, it was really important. I mean, not that I want to go into great detail about it, but everybody knows what happened with me and my wife and our daughter and stuff. And the IWK staff, they were amazing people. Like, the nurse, like, actually was, like, crying with my wife because she was, like, that upset at the situation, right? And just, you know, like, you know, just amazing. Like, I can't even put a word out there that describes the staff there. And one of the things that I remember, like when we first got there and they were going through, like they wanted to do like a heartbeat, like an ultrasound and stuff, because they couldn't find a heartbeat. And when they were doing that, they had like a couple keys off their keyboards and stuff like that, like missing, and it was a really slow thing, right? And then and you know, and then you go through everything that we went through, and then, you know, you kind of think of stuff like that and go, you know, well, these people are such great people, like, you know, anything you can do, like throw in like now, like I go to the bank, for instance, they get those raffle draws for I buy like, you know, $30-$40 worth, because I know that money goes. So for me, it was like one of those things where it's like, you know, you can help out and try to make a difference, and it was for a good cause. It was for Jim's niece, I believe it was, you know, and yeah, so it was just a great group of guys on that card. It was fun. Crowd was really into it. He donated some money, or was going to donate some money or something like that with it, so it worked out well. Yeah, I was really proud to be a part of that show.
Excellent. Yeah. No, we were happy to be there. It was a great show.
Yeah. One of my favorite matches was working Sean on that show. My favorite match, like in the last few years, was that one me and JP did at the Forum, and then like definitely my second is that one with Sean. It was fun.
Who would you say are your influences or mentors in the wrestling business?
Like locally?
Either any.
Not many, to be honest. I mean, I watched it as a kid, and you know, and I'm sure as a kid I probably was like, yeah, I want to do that, you know, but then I grew up and I got into girls and, you know, stuff like that, and, you know, it just kind of just drifted apart. And then, you know, I remember, I think I was like 18 or something, and I kind of checked out Gary's school, and that was when Troy, Sexton Phoenix, and like Aaron Matthews, I believe. I'm not sure if they were in the same class, but like that time when those guys were going through, and I remember like briefly meeting like Pete for a minute, and you know he was like telling me how much money he can make like overseas. He was pretty much like explaining to the guys that like everybody wants to get to the WWE, but you know, are you in it to be a star, or are you in it to make money? Because there's other places you can go where you're going to get less exposure, but you can make a lot more money, right? So. In terms of influences, like I always take advice from Pete. I got so much respect for Pete, just in terms of, you know, he's one of the few guys, like obviously him and Cowboy and stuff, like, you know, they were actually able to do this and make a living and make a name for themselves. Like anybody you talk to in wrestling, whether it's, you know, from BC to England or wherever, I mean, they know who Pete is. You know, so, you know, when I, you know, if I feel like something with my character, or maybe something in the ring, or, you know, just even some life advice, like, you know, I dropped like 25 pounds since the last Wrestle Center show. I got training advice from him for going to the gym, you know, so he's probably really locally the only guy. I mean, I've reached out to Gary and stuff too, obviously, but, you know, probably one of the only local guy that I, you know, ask advice from and all that. In terms of, you know, I don't know, I'll ask Christopher Daniels for advice, or, you know, guys like that, because, you know, I mean, don't really talk to them, right? You know, so.
And then finally, if you were to pick one active wrestler in the dollar world to perform with, who would that be and why?
Don't know. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I guess it just would be like, how much money is it to work that particular person?
Oh, okay.
You know? I have an agenda of people that I want to work. I don't go, okay, well, I want to work AJ Styles, or okay, I want to work, you know, the Young Bucks or the Briscoes. It's like if those opportunities present themselves and there's money to be made, then absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, it's a business, right? And that's the way I look at it. I don't have goals. Like, my goals are to win championships. My goals aren't to wrestle these massive names. My goals are hopefully, you know, to, you know, be able to go wrestle on big shows and make money.
Absolutely. Card from Saturday. It was obviously at the forum. So I'll just go through it. Feel free to jump in and give whatever opinion. So the show started with a promo from Tyler. Just basically, Tyler's the producer of Wrestle Center. Basically just explaining that they were on the Fight Network and promoting the main event, which was the first time they had an all-local main event, which I believe was the first time they had one. So that was a pretty powerful promo to start off the show.
He's really good at that.
He's an easy character to hate.
There's times when we're shooting Voltage and stuff, and like we have like a segment together, and you know, and the segment calls that, you know, he starts the segment, and you know, I chirp in or, you know, do whatever, right? And there's times that I catch myself thinking, like, when I'm looking at him, going like, wow, man, he is like so good, right? You know, just and he gets always, like, whenever he goes out there, like he did that Lennon Storm promo, like he always gets good pops from the crowd, right? Because he knows how to deliver on that microphone. So just figured I'd put him over.
He'll love that. And then that led us to our first match, was Chip Chambers versus Mikey Rave. Pretty solid match. I believe that was Chip Chambers' first actual match with the company. He had made an appearance, but I think that was his first match. And that was Chip Chambers won that one.
Based off crowd reaction, I give that match a 5-star. I got a good, like, for being an opening match, like, they really got the crowd fired up.
I agree 100%. I thought that was a good way to start. It was a solid way to start the show. Then our second match was, which involved Mr. Bullen here, was Jim Joyce versus Brett. It started off with you coming to ringside and throwing that poor security guard out of his chair. And you sat ringside during the match. Brett won, which led to you attacking Jim and ripping off his Bullen shirt off. which I'm wearing.
Plug the shirt, man.
$20.
Message me on Facebook personally.
Message Matt on Facebook, $20. Great buy. Then our next match was Julian Young versus Tommy Starr. Tommy Starr won that by submission, which I like that match. I just thought they have very different styles.
If I'm like, and again, I don't know anything about Julian's early work, but I will pay somebody $100 if they bring me a bad Julian match.
Yeah.
Anybody that works. He makes anybody look good.
Yeah.
Because he's not, there's no ego with Julian. He's not selfish in there. He totally understands that, okay, I'm going to get over, I'm going to make my opponent look good, they're going to get over. If both guys get over and do their jobs, right, you know, then the crowd's going to love that match.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? He's not going, okay, well, I'm a legit real athlete and you're not, so
yeah.
I'm just going to try to blow you up in there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if somebody actually has a bad Julian match, send it to me. I'll send you $100 because I'd really like to see a bad Julian.
Yeah, well, I've seen a lot of Julian Young matches in the last couple of years between all the shows that we go to, and I've yet to see a bad one.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm definitely going to keep the $100 in my pocket.
Oh, absolutely.
Again, if somebody has something that, you know, I'll send you $100.
The next promo was Shaneri's Library. With the guest was Cole Cabana. The host is Richard Shaneri, who some people might know as Dick Durning.
That whole promo was probably, in terms of Cole Cabana, was probably one of the funniest promos.
Absolutely, I didn't stop laughing.
I was backstage. I had tears coming out of my eyes when he did the whole reference there and everything.
Yeah.
Just laughing.
And Durning's hilarious too. So
yeah,
them together was amazing.
One of the cool things is like you hear about all these guys that like work up in New Brunswick and stuff, and you know what I mean. And I never, at least not to my recollection, I have ever met Durning previous to him coming to Wrestle Center. And just totally cool guy, totally professional. And then when I actually watched his matches in the ring and like what he could do, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome worker.
Yeah.
And Wrestle Center definitely, you know, with guys like that on the roster is definitely a solid. Because you know a lot of guys have left and new guys have came in, and Durning being one of the new guys that came in. But you know, I think he definitely fills a hole for some of those other guys that have left. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And next up was your gauntlet match, which was just to set it up. Basically, Matt came out and addressed the crowd, informing them that he had been in talks with Wrestle Center management, that if he gets a few more wins, he'll be getting an IFWA heavyweight title shot. And he demanded 2 or 3 wrestlers to come out so he could speed up the process. The 3 being Cody Blade. The second guy, I don't know.
I think the name he's using is Honest Rod.
Okay.
Yeah, but his real name's Rodney.
Yeah.
Rodney Broom or something, I believe.
Yeah, and those were both squashes, and then the third opponent was a surprise opponent. It was Madison Miles. Everybody knows who Madison Miles is, which led into you guys having an interaction. Madison getting in your face, wanting a match. You pushing her a couple of times, eventually slapping her in the face, which brought in Mike Miles, who's the cameraman for Wrestle Center and also Madison's dad, and you guys had a bit of a shoving match, which led to a mystery woman coming in and attacking Madison. I don't know anything about the lady, the mystery lady. So do you know much about her? Or yeah.
Everybody will find out.
Yeah, everybody will find out. Perfect.
I don't want to say anything on camera that's gonna make my wife mad.
Perfect.
That's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that whole thing was great. I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah, it seemed like I'm not like the best person with the internet and like all that like social media stuff, but from what I've been hearing, it sounds like it's the talk of the Wrestle Center stuff. So
yeah, I thought it was a great way to introduce Madison to the story. And
yeah, and the smack and I spit on her at the end. I mean that wasn't planned.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just kind of like, well, you know, sure.
Yeah.
Heat of the moment. Thought it was going to go over well.
No, I think the whole thing came.
And it is what it is.
Yeah, I think the whole thing.
Probably going to take some heat for it, but whatever.
That's of your job.
I think he all the time.
There you go. And then that was followed by the intermission, which was followed by a rock band that played after intermission. I thought they were good. I'm not a big fan of bands at a wrestling show, but I thought they did well. Next promo was Brad Legier, who came out with his chicken wing gimmick.
I hate Brad Legier. Like, actually, like, legitimately hate Brad.
Yeah.
There's just something about him that I don't know, I just don't like him. And that's a shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, yeah, I don't understand why they keep bringing him to, I don't know if he still does the chicken wing thing or not, but.
Well, that's what he did this show.
Yeah, but
he's been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah, Brad Legier's dumb.
Yeah. The next was the first title match of the night, which was the IHWC title match with Nick Diggs versus Ryan. Nick Diggs retained his title. Thought it was a really solid match.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that match surprised me. I thought that was really good.
Ryan, he's a good worker, man.
Yeah.
And you know, he's been around for a bit, and you know, Nick's in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
And can go, and him and Burke had a really good match.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that match delivered as anticipated.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then that led into after the match, Tony Starr coming out, interfering with a mask on, attacking Nick Diggs and cutting a promo, which I assume is going to lead into a title match between the two. Next was Colt Cabana versus Richard Chineri, Dick Durning, which I thought was really good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that match. I thought that was very, very good. Richard Chineri, Dick Durning won that one, which led to Fantana versus James Steele.
Sorry, I'm going to keep cutting you off.
No.
I've got to put certain guys over.
No.
I'm going to put Colt Cabana over first. Coolest guy, hands down, I've ever met in the wrestling business. Just in terms of like personality and stuff. Just awesome guy. And Fantana's probably one of my favorite Nova Scotia workers.
Yeah.
I can actually sit down and watch match after match
Yeah.
after match.
I agree.
It's because I pop every time he hits that 450, right? Because it just looks so it's like no, and then he, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I like Fantana. He's a cool worker.
Yeah, and
hopefully down the road I'll get to work him sometime.
oh yeah, absolutely. And him and James Steele had a good match. I like them both. I've seen them wrestle in other provinces, and they definitely had a good match. So next was the 50-50, which then at that point they announced the next show will be April 9th at the Forum again, which leads us to the main event. The IFWA heavyweight title match was JP Sims and Steve Arsenault. There was a lot of controversy. I want to go through the match, and then I know you have a lot to say about that. There's a lot of controversy surrounding this main event. There were a lot of videos posted, a lot of one not wanting to go over on the other. So the match started. The whole match, I was confused whether it was a shooter or. I'm still confused about it.
I don't think you're the only one.
Yeah. So basically,
I legit, after seeing the Fallen Out, definitely think that everything leading up to it, and even maybe some of that match in particular spots, probably was a real legit shit.
Yeah. JP retains by interference by Shane Stevens, who came out. The ref was down. Came out, tried to revive the ref. Popped in the ring and super kicked Steve in the face while he had JP in the sharpshooter, which led to JP pinning him and winning the match. And also I forgot to point out in the middle of the match, JP hit his finisher, the simulator, and attempted to pin Steve. Steve kicked out. Both the referee and JP looked completely stunned. They were both looking at Jason and Tyler that were at the production area. And both looked very stunned and asking what was going on, making it seem like that was supposed to be the finish. So I know you have a lot to say about this, so I'll give you the floor.
I talk pretty passionately, and I've been trying not to drop any curse words, but if one slips here,
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. But when I seen that video with Steve, I was really hot. I said. When I watched that, like I said to my wife, I was like, I couldn't believe that he, as much as he loves the wrestling business, because if you know Steve in any capacity, you know that he he loves this,
Absolutely.
right? And for him to go out there and expose that much of the business, to go out there once a poster's already been put up and say, this is what they wanted for the finish, I'm not doing it, right? I just thought it was just a really bad way of just exposing the business. And, and I was pretty pissed when I watched that video, which kind of makes me want to reference the whole situation, because I had the same thing happen in I think it was June or July of 2014 when I worked JP. We did that angle with the IFWA belt where it got took off him.
Yeah, because you
by
did
count. Yeah, no, I wrestled him and then it got taken off him because I beat him by count.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was either the June or July show of 2014. And the same thing happened, right, pretty much, and again, I'm not going to sit here and say that JP's a piece of garbage and bury him like that, because everybody already knows that he is, kind of a piece of garbage. But the same issue with happened to me that happened with Steve, and JP kind of went out there on Jason's show, that little mousetrap, I think, or something it's called, and pretty much said, well, I'm not dropping the belt to Matt Bullen because he's not a good worker, he doesn't respect the business, he's only been in the business for a few months, which at that point, off and on, was in the business probably as long as he has been, right? So, anyways. So the thing with JP is I totally understand where Steve came from. That I think going on David Boyce, I believe that's who it was, his podcast, and exposing that. But JP, that's what he does, right? And going back to our match, him and Tyler, and I'm not sure if Jason was involved in this, but I know definitely for sure him and Tyler had a falling out creatively of where they wanted JP to go. JP was pretty, I guess his ego or his head got bigger after he did that AJ Styles match. So in JP's mind, he thought, well, okay, I should be working out of all the big out-of-town names that come in. So anyways, there's something happened there, and I don't know what happened, but it was something creative between him and Tyler, and it ended up resulting that JP ended up getting pissed off, and he did the same thing for Chuck, and he bailed, and he was going to bail from Wrestle Center, and so anyways, they called me and told me what was going, or Tyler called me and told me what was going on, and said we're gonna have to put the belt on you, and the reason why is because I believe at that point, Pete and Gary were setting up their feud, or already in it. Burke was either going to be the Intercontinental or the IHWC, whatever that belt's called, the champion there. Titus was being used for something. So I was really the only guy that was big and kind of heel to take that belt off of JP. So that's why they went with me, and then so they called me. I was like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever you guys want to do. Anyways, so I guess they called the JP, and they told JP that, and he just flat out refused. He didn't want to work me. He didn't want to do that match. He definitely didn't want to put me over for the title. And so, anyways, pretty much the way the shorts, because I don't want to keep you here all night telling you the ins and out details, but pretty much what happened with that is JP just he called up Tyler and told him if you guys don't, because JP was trying to get the finish of that match changed, and Tyler and I'm assuming Jason too were adamant that no, that you're leaving, the strap's going on me, right? And so then he threatened a no-show. So as I get a call from Tyler, I believe, and he told me, JP says that he's going to no-show, right? So I said to Tyler straight up, in a shoot, I was like, well, why don't you tell him he's going over, and I'll wrestle him in the ring, and when we go into what he thinks is the finish, I'll just knock the shit out of him, knock him out cold, and shoot him, and take the belt from him, right? And of course, they came back and they said, well, no, we can't do that because, it could create a lawsuit or whatever, right? But yeah, he just flat out refused to drop the title to me, and and really dog shitted me to everybody behind the the scenes and stuff like that. And of course nobody bought it because they know what he's all about. When you're in a wrestling company, it's like, you know, everybody's out for themselves, but you know, you help, you know, you're the top guy. And as the top guy, you're only going to have a run for so long as the top guy.
Right.
And then, you know, you got to drop that belt. And usually you're in a feud with the guy that you're going to drop the belt to. You know, so, you know, you help him, you build him up, you pass the torch along to him. I didn't need JP's help to get over, right? You know, obviously, you know, looking back on the match, it was a fantastic match. The finish was absolutely stupid, but that's the only thing that he would agree to do. He was not cool with me pinning him in the middle of the ring. Like, that's what they wanted. They wanted me to hit my finish. No gimmicks, deals, nothing. They just wanted me to hit my finish, pin him right in the dead center of the ring, 1, 2, 3. And JP says it was because, like, I'm Tyler's, like, buddy behind the scenes, or like his right hand man, which isn't true at all. Like, me and Tyler are like we're acquaintances. We work together. You know, we have like a working relationship. But I don't go with Tyler and drink beers. Tyler doesn't come over to my house for barbecues and stuff. You know, but again, that's just his perception. You know, and just things that he said, you know, in that interview, like that, you know, like I was Tyler's buddy, and you know that I, you know, don't deserve. I would have represented that company in a bad light, and I think, and you know, maybe you'll agree with me. JP, when he is the champion, I feel like he represents that company in a bad light. You know, he did it to me, and you know, and I didn't go publicly and state it, and he's done it to other guys too, not just Steve. There's been quite a few guys that have, you know, he's buried backstage, and then Steve was finally the guy to say, no, the hell with you, right? Yeah. I'm going to go and I'm going to expose you for the piece of crap that you are, right? And, you know, and like I said, I kind of lost respect for Steve because I don't feel like exposing the business. But in the same sense, I kind of gained a lot of respect for him because he did do the right thing at the end of the day. He made the crybaby happy. And you know what, and please don't edit any of this because this is legit. I'm not friends with JP. I don't like JP. We've never been friends. I never had an issue with JP. That stuff that him and Mosier did on that thing, right? I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't told that was going down. So you know, I'm assuming that it was a shoot, and that's, you know, was really how he feels about me, and that's fine. I'm not going to bury him and say that, you know, he's worthless, because you know he's a good worker. You know, he's an egotistical crybaby. Mm-hmm. And when he doesn't get his way, he'll just bail on the company. He did it to Chuck and UCW. He did it to Jason the first go around the Wrestle Center, and he came back. And you know, and I know that inner workings, he was more adamant of not losing to Steve than I think Steve was losing to him. Yeah, if that makes sense. So yeah, so just, you know, just in terms of that match and stuff, it was just, you know, just a horrible situation. At the end of the day, at least, you know, business was done, but you know, it wasn't by anything that JP did. You know, JP, you know, he wouldn't have never agreed to lay down, because he's always had this perception, because you know, he's worked PD Williams, he's worked AJ Styles, he's worked Daniels, so he has this perception of like, okay, well, I'm the guy that works these out of town guys. Mm-hmm. Any local guys, I have no interest in. Yeah. You know, I think, if memory serves me right, I think there was a match between him and Titus, was there not, like a few shows back? Yeah. I can't remember who went over or whatever, but he was back there kicking up a stink over having to wrestle Titus, right? And he's like, oh yeah, you know, like they want me to like give, you know, he was saying something to one of the guys, and I overheard him. He's like, oh yeah, they want Titus to like get all like this heat in on me and stuff, and you know, like I can't remember at the time if he was the champion or like the ex-champion, and he said something about like, you know, why I don't understand why, you know, he's getting all this heat on me, like of JP Sims. And I just stood up and I was like, nobody gives a shit that you're JP Sims. They don't like you. The boys don't like you because they know you're a phony. The wrestling fans, for the most part, don't like you because they know you're a phony, mm-hmm. right? That's why they boo you in your face, and they throw toilet paper at you in your face, right? You know, and that's not anything that was worked behind the scenes. You can't judge a live crowd reaction on somebody. You can look at this person and say, okay, well, if we go in this direction, maybe this will happen, or if we go in that direction, maybe this will happen. But you don't know until you bust through those curtains. And you know, sticking with this being like a shoot, like, you know, they tried everything to get him over, everything. But at the end of the day, you know, the fans as well as the boys know that, you know, he's just, you know, and the fans do, because they, you know, he goes out there and he wears his belt around and parades around and just, you know, like, and he's just arrogant and he just rubs people the wrong way. And I just, you know, and I just feel like at the end of the day, if the business, if he was willing to do business, you know, he could probably be a lot farther in his career than what he is currently.
Yeah.
Not that he's in a bad spot, but just his ego and his attitude has really held him back in terms of where he could be, you know. And then, you know, they spend so much time building him up and building Steve up, and then, you know, and Jason and Tyler put all this money into these guys to try to make them look big, larger than life, and then, you know, they're, you know, I'm assuming they booked the match. They assume they're going to get a good payoff for that match, right? And then JP just starts with his usual JP crap, and then goes from what you've seen with Steve to what you've seen on Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
You know? And I just wanted to bring that up because I just don't think that is cool. But you know, I feel like there's some people that probably put a lot of heat on Steve for going out and doing that video and stuff. But you know, I've only dealt with JP like really like the last like couple of years with Wrestle Center, and he already annoys the crap out of me. I couldn't imagine Steve, like, who's like probably been dealing with JP for 10 years, is probably just ready to cut his head off, right? You know, yeah. So, anyways, I won't keep ranting and raving. That's all I want to say about
no
that.
problem with that. All right, well, just to finish off, I'm going to just go over what I thought was the match of the night, the promo of the night, the MVP of the night. You feel free to give your own opinion.
Sure.
For the match of the night, I had the Richard Chenary Cole Cabana match as mine.
There's a couple matches I didn't see, right? So I don't want to say like I agree. But yeah, I mean, I did see that match. It was a really good match. I did enjoy like the main event.
Yeah.
Like match too. Like, don't get me wrong. It was a good match. It kind of got a little different towards the end because, like I said, I think that stuff was kind of a little bit of a shoot there towards the end. But for the most part, like I don't know. So yeah, I would definitely say it was either that or the Chenary Cabana.
Yeah. And I definitely wanted to mention again the first match, the Mikey Ray Chip Chambers.
Yeah,
that was definitely on my short list.
Yeah, that one I only caught I caught it about halfway through because I had to do some segment stuff or whatever for like the backstage stuff. So I only caught that about halfway through. But yeah, that was, from what I seen, that was. But Chip Chambers, man, he's an awesome worker.
Oh, he's solid,
one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet in the business, man. Just a great worker, right?
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And that was the first time I ever seen the other guy, but he's a hell of a worker too.
Yeah, he did. So. Yeah, he was great. For my promo tonight, I actually couldn't decide. I had two. I had a tie, the Chenary Library, and your exchange with Madison.
Right.
I thought those were pretty even there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think the promo of the night was Cabana.
Yeah.
Yeah. That promo, that the whole Dick reference promo, that was the promo of the night in my books.
Yeah. And then for my MVP of the night, just because he showed up quite a bit on my list here, was Dick Darling. Richard Chenary, that's who I thought.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah. Like, he's an awesome worker, so Wrestle Center definitely benefits from having him around. And,
yeah, I've seen him.
As far as it goes for MVP of the night, I got to kind of be partial here and go with myself. But considering, you know, like, apparently I blew up the local wrestling after the show, and I don't think too much was mentioned about Dick, but hopefully he doesn't hold that against me, right? That prick talking shit about me or something.
Yeah, I just want to put Dick over too, because I've seen him several different promotions, and I've seen him as a babyface, but I love him as a heel. I definitely think he's definitely good as a heel.
Yeah, no, I just like from what I've seen of him, like over the years and stuff, and you know, I just think he's just a great worker.
Yeah.
And he's one of those few guys that can either do a really good heel, really good face,
exactly,
good tweener, great on the mic, great look, super nice guy, somebody that you'd want that if you were like a wrestling pro, you definitely would want like representing your company.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, well, he's a cool guy, man.
Well, that's it, man. I appreciate you letting me do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for the next couple of weeks. I'll announce who my next guest is going to be.
Might be me, part 2.
Maybe, you never know.
Is it going to be JP?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you just waste your time because he would just be slinging you a bunch of lies anyways. Yeah, so sorry. So before we end here, I just want to say that that whole promo thing with Jason, like that shoot thing you did with Jason there, that was like the biggest load of lies I've ever heard in my life, right? So anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there in case I didn't hit that point one before.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Join us next time for You Missed Out.